Monday, May 1st, 2023, Manhattan, New York, Broadway and Lafayette train station, the northbound F train. A 30-year-old Black American man boards the northbound F train. A mental breakdown is about to ensue. The mental and emotional trauma of this individual started as a teen due to his mother's murder. Presently, he is a homeless man with a history of serious mental illness. As an adult living in New York, he was arrested over 42 times for fare evasion, disorderly conduct, and assault. Most of these crimes are believed to have been committed on the New York subway system. The latest charge came from punching a 67-year-old elderly woman in the face, fracturing her orbital bone and breaking her nose. It is also alleged he attempted to kidnap a 7-year-old child. It wasn't always this way. In the past, the man panhandled as a talented Michael Jackson impersonator. He was beloved by friends and many commuters for years. His name is JordanNeely. There was a commuter and witness on that train. His name is Juan Roberto Vasquez. The Hispanic American stated, at the Broadway and Lafayette station, Mr. Neely boarded the northbound F train, took off his coat, threw it on the ground, and began to yell aggressively to all commuters, "I want food. I am thirsty. I am not taking no for an answer. I am ready to go back to jail. I don't care if I get a big life sentence. Doesn't matter if I die. I will hurt anyone on this train." Mr. Neely never attacked nor touched anyone during this outburst. Many commuters were scared and in fear after hearing these distress statements and threat. Passengers had no idea if Mr. Neely had a knife, gun, mace, or chemicals. Vasquez described, after Neely made a threat to commuters, a man approached him from behind and placed him in a chokehold. The passenger managed to control Neely to the ground, restrained in a submissive position as they began to toss and tussle. The man's name is DanielPenny, 24 years old, white American, a college student, and a United States ex-Marine. Juan Roberto Vasquez starts to record the altercation. The witness has approximately 15 minutes of Neely in a chokehold recorded in his phone. Not to mention, however, more minutes of Neely laid out on the ground unconscious. We are showing the most popular version being viewed to the world. Two additional Good Samaritans came forward to ensure Neely would not rise out of the struggle. One man knelt down to reassure no threat, and the other stood by. The fear of Neely's ability to harm others or himself was stopped. As the train continued to stop at several stations, some passengers exited the train, others stayed, just to visualize the situation was in control. Witnesses and Mr. Penny stated it didn't seem as though the chokehold Neely was placed in was life-threatening. In the beginning, Neely was moving, responsive, and defending himself. Mr. Penny yelled several times to passengers, "Call 911," as he kept Neely subdued. But then, Mr. Neely began to move slow. His body started to go limp and soon unresponsive. Within 15 minutes, Mr. Penny unhooked his chokehold from Mr. Neely's neck, crawled from underneath him, and stood over his unconscious body. Minutes later, EMS and the police arrived and quickly performed CPR on Neely, but he could not be revived. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Mr. Penny was detained, questioned, and released by the New York Police Department. Several news outlets reached out to Mr. Penny, but he declined any statements. The two additional men were questioned, but no charges were filed against them. Their names are unknown. Several days into the matter, Mr. Penny hired criminal defense attorney Thomas Kenneth, who spoke on his behalf. Mr. Kenneth stated, Mr. Penny offers his condolences to JordanNeely's family and his untimely death. He never meant to harm him. There was instant outrage and arrest following the death of Mr. Neely from protesters and local activists, citing Neely was murdered and Penny should be arrested and face charges. This lasted over a week. At one point, power had to be shut off as protesters began to jump down onto the train tracks. Some protesters became violent as they continuously berated police during the intense demonstrations. This case contains justice, politics, safety, race relations, and mental illness as the topic of recent assaults increasing on public transportation. An autopsy was conducted, and the medical examiner ruled the death by homicide, compression of the neck. What does compression of the neck mean in an autopsy? Regardless of the manner of death, ligature strangulation occurs when an external object is placed around the neck and provides compression. In this case, the tightening, squeezing pressure applied by both arms of Mr. Penny wrapped around Mr. Neely's neck. NYPD interviewed witnesses who came forward and were present on the train. This information collected for the case was handled to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, who will determine charges against Daniel J. Penny. A former chief of department NYPD stated, under New York law, a person can use reasonable level of force to stop misconduct. People have the right to defend themselves and others. Daniel J. Penny turned himself into authorities at the 5th Precinct in Manhattan, May 12, 2023. He was arraigned in Manhattan criminal court for one count of second-degree manslaughter for the fatal chokehold of JordanNeely. He could face up to 15 years in prison if convicted. He was released on $100,000 bail. His attorney, Thomas Kenneth, released a statement afterwards.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Kniff. I'm with the law firm of Razor & Kniff. We represent Daniel Penny in this matter. Shortly after 8 a.m. this morning, Daniel Penny surrendered at the 5th Precinct at the request of the New York County District Attorney's Office.
Sit down.
He did so voluntarily and with the sort of dignity and integrity that is characteristic of his history of service to this grateful nation. The case will now go to court. We expect an arraignment will occur this afternoon, and the process will unfold from there.
Can you tell us what his mindset is this morning? How is he feeling?
He's dealing with the situation, like I said, with the sort of integrity and honor that is characteristic of who he is, characteristic of his honorable service in the United States Marine Corps, and you know, he has head held up high.
Has he had any threats to his life? Has he been threatened at all?
I think that's all the commentary we're going to give now. We'll wait for the case to get to court, and I have a feeling I'll see you all at the courthouse. Thank you.
JordanNeely will be laid to rest May 19th, 2023 at Mount Nebo Church. The family of Mr. Neely requested his eulogy be delivered by the Reverend Al Sharpton.